And welcome back. It's time for Opinion Court. Thank you for staying with us. Please get in touch with us, 22422. That's our SMS line. If you're on social media, please use the hashtag Opinion Court. It allows us to track your conversation, and you're already doing it. So thank you very much for that. Reach out to us on @Citizen TV Kenya or @Citizen TV News. I am @Ann Kiguta. That's Ann with an E. And we'd love to hear from you. Let me reintroduce my panel to you and our topic of discussion. To my right is ODM Chair John Mbadi. In the middle is Professor Edward Kisengani, our resident political analyst, and across from me, the leader of the majority, Aden Duale. We are discussing CORD's latest bid to impeach President Kenyatta on various grounds. I want to start with you, Duale. And, you know, listening to you today at the presser, you did express confidence. You were like, you know what? Bring it on. Don't just go and talk about it in the media, etc. Bring it to the House. Let us debate. Let us vote on it. But if we were to take this away from being a conversation about the tyranny of numbers, if you like, which many would say that is where you draw your confidence from, does it worry you that this is the second time in a very short amount of time that there is another bid to impeach the president?
This is the first time that I'm aware. And to make it again for the third time in this studio, the tyranny of numbers emanates from the people through a popular vote. So it's not a crime. And it's not the first parliament to have one coalition having huge numbers. But let me tell you why I said, and I'm a very practical person, and my coalition is very practical. Within the reading of Article 145 of the Constitution on the impeachment of the President, if you carefully read that and bring it to the scenario of impeaching President Uhuru Kenyatta, it's not a walk in the park. It's not a birthday party. And I can see that my colleagues on the other side, and that's why you see voices from the opposition, the likes of Kaluma, the likes of TJ Kajwang, here on church is saying, our hope is only that we are waiting to get some numbers from URP. You know, so the moment you see somebody saying our hope in succeeding to impeach the president is getting some members from other coalition, and you know specifically, the same scenario, you had the CORD coalition saying, we want Deputy President William Ruto to use this impeachment to ascend to power, to help, so that can help him in the ICC case. You know, all of a sudden, I am shocked. And we can't believe why CORD is so much interested in putting William Ruto as the president, where we thought they should have been preparing one of their own to take over power in the next year. So for me, I'm saying this because one, until this evening 7 p.m. when I was leaving my office, the impeachment of the president motion is only found in rallies, in funerals, in political caucuses, in talk shows like this, in FM stations. A motion of impeachment is visualized when the required number of signatures are attained, when the motion is drafted, and when the Speaker approves for the House Business Committee, in which I sit, slot it for debate. So as we speak,
and you're basically saying it's not going to get past you.
As we speak now, in fact, there's no motion of impeachment.
Well, the opposition would say that they are well on their way, working on all those three grounds.
Then you say a proposal to impeach the president.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
So don't say a motion of impeachment is after the House business.
I want to bring in other members to discuss it, but I hear what you're saying. We're not yet at the motion stage, but the wheels are turning.
We have no motion.
Albeit slowly, they're turning. Prof, you know, Duale does sound confident, and I suppose you can't expect him to sound anything but for you, is this a gauge that something may be fundamentally wrong with the way the Jubilee administration views, one, the popularity of the president, and second, the way that they're doing business? Because I remember very early, if you like, in the life of this coalition, you would hear the opposition talk against certain things that were happening in government, but their acrimony was not always necessarily towards President Kenyatta. In fact, many times you'd hear them say, you know, President Kenyatta is a good man, he's amicable, etc., but we either disagree with the president's men or disagree with his advice. But this is changing, and this is becoming about not working with him, getting him out of the seat. What are your thoughts?
First of all, thank you, Anne, and welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. I think for me, Honorable Duale is a friend with whom I have very deep political differences because I don't dance on his political stage. The reason is that he uses a lot of energy but says very little that can cause the correct impact. The reason why I'm saying that is this, Anne. Our country has a problem and we have a weak political discourse across the line. What do we do? When somebody there's a bid to impeach somebody, what you hear about this impeachment is everybody withdraws to either regional or ethnic cocoons. And they will argue the reason why they want to impeach so-and-so is they have tyranny of numbers. And when you talk about tyranny of numbers, those who are supporting the view that we have numbers are actually focused on ethnicity. Now, in that case, therefore, we lose the issues that are being raised. So in and even overestimate the popularity of certain people. In our case with the president, I think to strengthen our political discourse and move away from this naivety about tyranny of numbers and ethnicity, we must say Parliament should be strong enough, led by Honorable Duale and even Honorable Mbadi, to say, are the points being raised against the president valid or not? Rather than we shall raise enough numbers. Because what is going to help the country, even if you raised enough numbers yesterday, you may not raise them now. But only if we all go sober and say, the problem that is being raised by the opposition, the impeachment motion, is this correct? For example, there has been cases of corruption in this country. Most people are getting to the point where they think that the government is not solving the problem of corruption properly. There has been cases where the president has signed laws like the security bill, but also been advised by the CIC, the Committee on the Implementation of the Constitution, don't do this, this is unconstitutional. So he has done a few things which are unconstitutional. And we can... Let me
then rephrase the question to you, Prof. Do you think the issues that the opposition are raising reaches the threshold to call for an impeachment?
Yes, and that's the point. The point is true. And to do that, you read Article 145 of the Constitution, which my brother has talked about, and he talks about it's not a walk in the park. Article 145 has 3 items only, and item number 1 is gross violation of the Constitution. Maybe the president has committed international crime. You see, there are not very many things that are there, but if you look at the question of constitution, has the president, that's the question we are asking, has the president violated the constitution? Many times, yes. That is what should unite parliament. Even if he is your friend, Duale, you
should unite both sides.
You should unite both sides. So let me finish. So
fair enough. So
that we stick with the issues. Even if the president is your closest friend, you stick with the issue rather than the individual. Because if you stick with the individual, you are going to mess up the issues.
Talk about the issues.
Yes.
First of all, let me put it this way. I think the reason why Kenyans went pure presidential system of government was to remove a situation where, like scenarios where Duale is trying to bring, where some members feel they represent the executive in parliament. We went pure presidential to remove the executive from parliament so that people of Kenya can have their representatives debate and resolve on issues of concern to them without thinking of the executive authority. Article 94 of the Constitution gives the Parliament the responsibility of protecting the Constitution. And by the way, that article is very clear, Article 95.4.4. You go to 95.5, it says that the Parliament and National Assembly shall review the conduct of President, Deputy President and other state officers and initiate the process of removing them from office. What that article says or speaks to is that as a member of National Assembly, you have a duty and a responsibility to the people of Kenya to continuously review the conduct of the president. And therefore, when we come up with a process of removing the president, it should be done on the basis of National Assembly exercising objectivity and leaving to the oath of office that they took. Now, regarding...
Sorry, I want to follow up on what you've just said, because I think it's critical. And I know Honorable Duale is challenging that we take specific issues, and we will come to that. But you've talked about the review of the president's conduct, and my question is that there are those who would say, your critics who would say, that even in a review of his conduct, that the opposition has always opted to go for the most extreme or radical way, remove him from power, as opposed to other parliamentary mechanisms that are there to check on his power. You can shoot down bills, you can woo even the other side of the coalition to say, look, on this issue we don't agree, and basically take a more bipartisan approach, which is anchored in, we want to move the country forward together. Fine, you're the ones in charge right now, but we can check on you without going to the very extreme of removing a sitting head of state. I
understand your question. It's clear to me that a lot of times we have also tried with some degree of success to hold the president and the executive accountable in different ways. I would mention the specifics, but I don't think the time allows us to do so. But I could give you example of even security laws, the issue of the bill on NGOs and etc. So there are a number of cases where we held the president accountable. This is not the first time that we are talking about the wrong things that we feel the president has done. But you see, the Constitution also talks about gross violation. It's not just mere violation. It's gross violation, and therefore it is our responsibility.
Also on that, Honorable Mbadi, I think what Annie is asking is that are there not better mechanisms for us to deal with the
that is not.
Yes.
Before we reach there.
But I just wanted to help to chip in something. That in essence, there is no way we are going to have this debate and even talk about mechanisms and the trials you have made and then recognize the processes unless we all look at the issues that each side is.
Can I now answer? Let me just answer that.
Okay, briefly,
very quickly. Briefly, let me answer it. We have taken other measures and other steps to stop the president from violating the Constitution and other organs. Remember, we took the security laws to court. We didn't bring an impeachment motion. But you see, when these things become persistent and they become grave, like the case now where the court issues orders and they are not respected, and you cannot just continue the same way. We are now going to demonstrate to Kenyans, and I wish Honorable Duale and others would wait for this motion when I bring it to move it and demonstrate to people of Kenya that their president they have today should leave office because of gross violation of the Constitution and other gross misconduct, so that Kenyans can also judge. It is not even a question of tyranny of numbers. I think Kenyans need to make a judgment as to whether their president should leave office or not.
All right, Honorable Duale.
You know, and I want to say, and I want to say it with a lot of respect to my good friend Professor. You know, he has a lot of pedestrian arguments on this show.
Which one today?
No, I'm saying, I watch. I'm a very, I'm one person who watch this program, but I...
If you want to be fair and challenge him on today's quote-unquote pedestrian
with a lot of respect.
Take me on issues.
With a lot of respect, Prof has a lot of pedestrian arguments.
Such as what today, sir?
I'm coming to it.
Okay.
That, you know, you can't just... Article 145, there's not only talk about the grounds for removal. It sets out the process and the procedure of removal. So, you know, you don't just talk just because you want to speak, Prof. And that's why I said the grounds is what Honorable Mbadi is talking about. But why I said is not a walk in the park. It's the procedure. And that is why both for removing a CS and removing a president or a deputy president, the framers of the Constitution put such high threshold mechanism for nobody to abuse it. But I think what we are discussing today is the impeachment of His Excellency, the purported proposal of impeaching President Uhuru Kenyatta. Because from where I sit as the leader of majority, when you talk about even the media, impeachment motion is when the motion has matured, it has gone through the kitchen, and now it's on the table.
Right.
So from where I sit today,
we're not there.
There's not there. And I'm sure there are certain procedures and process to be followed.
Your worry is procedure.
No.
Not the issues.
No, let me finish, if you allow me. Because even, interjecting me is being pedestrian. Because what I'm saying is, wow. I have listened to you. I've listened to you. What are we saying? The Kenya is a presidential system like the US. And that's why the Constitution has provided two different coalitions of the minority and the majority. And the functions of houses is oversight, representation, and legislation. But because the leadership and coalitions are again provided for in our Constitution in Article 108, the coalition that is led by the majority and the minority.
What's your point?
If you allow me, that's being very pedestrian.
If you would say
that is being pedestrian.
If you would
yes.
Conclude. Yeah.
Coalitions will always, in the interest of the country, still stand with their coalition, either in the opposition or in the government. And that's why Honorable Mbadi this afternoon worked out on the extension of the election date, because that was contrary to the position his coalition has adopted. So there's no way you can say that when you join parliament, then you are a member of parliament, and one morning you can impeach.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is,
and you separate yourself from the policies of your coalition.
So the impeachment of a president or a deputy president, not only for this government, for even future, is provided for in the Constitution. It's a constitutional right for each and every member of the National Assembly. And it can only originate in the National Assembly. And where the senators have no opportunity to impeach the president. But what am I coming to is, the current proposed impeachment of the president has a lot to do with politics. And that's why we're saying, fine, once we see the motion, now we have not seen the motion. Once we see the motion, and we see the facts attached to that motion, and all that.
And that's a fair point, and that is a fair point. And I want to conclude it there because, on that specific issue, Honorable Mbadi, because as you've rightly said, there is a committee that is working on this to basically harmonize this point. I think there have been almost about 20 different instances that have largely been brought together, and they range in different issues, and corruption, I think, really playing a central issue. But as it is not yet there, I would want to just agree with Duale on that point, that we do not go any further into discussing what those issues are until we actually see the results of your process.
Actually, I thought so.
Okay.
Well,
you agree? Okay.
That I agree partly with Duale, that I think right now, even his conclusion that this thing is political is
also...
actually, that is, to me, premature. Because I have not I've just come from a meeting where we were working on this motion. And I would tell you that this is a quasi-judicial process. And that you don't expect the MP for Sober to bring a motion that has no merit. Certainly you must prepare.
No, we don't expect that.
Must prepare. Because this is also president setting. We go to Nigeria, we go to Philippines, we go to America to get to see president of impeachment. People will come to Kenya 100 years from now
you want to do your homework,
the first impeachment motion on the president of Kenya. I think it's a higher
but also you can be honest with yourself that some of the things that you are going to put in your report before you table the motion are already in the public domain.
We can
and you cannot you cannot say that Honorable Duale does not know that.
Let me bring one, Prof, just to bring the point home, and it comes on a slightly separate matter because it involves the bid by the URP member of Parliament, Alfred Keter, who is basically collecting signatures in a bid to have CS Anwe-Guru removed from her docket, again on the grounds of corruption, which is a running theme in the concerns that court has. I spoke to President Kenyatta about the same and his concerns in what is happening in the Ministry of Devolution. And this is what he says specifically about the issue of corruption. Let's listen and then we'll talk.
Devolution is critical in implementing these SDGs, yet it itself is caught up in the same storm over corruption. Are you concerned that this is going to derail its ability to really, follow through on your development agenda?
I don't think so. I don't think so. The most important thing is these things have been brought to light. They are being tackled, they are being addressed by the appropriate authorities. Those who have been found and who will be found to be culpable, action will be taken by the appropriate institutions. I think the most important thing that we need to recognize these days is that corruption is not being swept under the carpet. We are tackling it, we are dealing with it, and we are saying that those agencies responsible for dealing with this issue should handle them independently. Cases should be prosecuted in the shortest possible time, and like I'm saying, those found culpable should be adequately punished. What we need to refrain from is this issue of consistently naming also. Let the processes take place. We will at the end of the day get to find out who was responsible for what, and action will be taken against those individuals.
So the president is basically saying that there is somebody else who is responsible for handling corruption. They are investigating bodies. Let them do that process, and then let us talk at the end of that process. What do you think of that? And in the context of the bid by Alfred Keter, whether or not you support it, and as you give your winding comment.
I won't be very objective on this matter. I hope I will be. First, I want to speak candidly to the president. This kind of doublespeak, I think, is very unfortunate from our president. On 26th of March this year, the president came to Parliament and read names of those who are called, who are said to be in the list of shame, and asked them to step aside for 60 days for investigation. Some of those people who were asked to step aside actually were being investigated. The investigation was just starting, and they were being investigated for allegations based on even some letters written to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Now, today, the president is talking to Kenyans through you and telling us that this case in the devolution ministry is so unique and different, and that even though 791 million has been admitted to have been lost, today I'm seeing Ethics and Anti-Corruption even investigating other matters in that ministry, that it is not necessary to ask anyone to step aside until at the conclusion of that investigation. That is doublespeak. Actually, the Constitution does not allow the president to behave this way, because you are supposed to be neutral. You are supposed to treat Kenyans the same. You are not supposed to discriminate. You are not supposed to employ any other extraneous factors as nepotism, tribalism, or anything else. On Alfred Keter, I think the Jubilee side is being unfair to this honorable member. It is not Alfred Keter alone who has spoken from the Jubilee side that Anne Waiguru should step aside. If you listen to news reports in this country over the weekends, in fact, many MPs from the Rift Valley, including senators and governors, have spoken that there is discrimination in this Jubilee government. Right. If it is from their side, they are asked to step aside, but from the TNA side, they are not, especially Waiguru. They have been very candid, so I don't think it is Keter.
What do you think? Do you think there's double speak, Duale, in the way she's been treated as opposed to other CSs?
I'm shocked. You know, when the chairman of ODM, Honorable Mbadi, is busy and uses a lot of his time and energy to see how URP and TNA are cohabiting together. I asked myself, then who will be the alternative voice from the opposition in this country? I mean, that should not have been the concern of Honorable Mbadi, whether they are members of URP who spoke about. And secondly, we must be very clear. Are we accusing Anne Waiguru, CS Anne Waiguru, on the basis that there is a perceived double standard somewhere from the appointing authority, or Anne Waiguru has committed serious corruption-related crimes?
I think on the basis that other colleagues who may have been seen to have even lesser issues were compelled to step aside, yet she hasn't been, while she has actually admitted those monies were lost.
Then if that is on that basis, and I think this is very clear, Honorable Mbadi served me in the House Parliament. Under the new Constitution, we created independent institution of the executive. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission are independent. The office of the DPP is independent. They are not under the control of the executive and most of the president. So if the DPP has a file, and he's saying that Anne Waiguru, in this particular case of NYS, from the reading of what is happening in the country, was the first whistleblower. And in this case, she's a prosecution witness. Okay? Then, you cannot just say, oh, just because there is a corruption in quotes in a certain ministry, and because she's perceived from a certain region and a certain political orientation, and there were people who stepped aside 6 months ago, then that should be the script.
Okay.
You know what we are saying? What we are saying is, we have created, very brief. We have created independent institutions. Let us not politicize the war on corruption. President Uhuru Kenyatta has said it not once, has not said it twice, in public and in confidence, and to you, the last interview you had with him, that he is one of the very few people who are firm on the war on corruption. He allowed his close friends, his cabinet, him and the deputy, to step aside.
But you're saying C.S. Waigoro's issue is different because she was a whistleblower. That is
absolutely
the bottom line.
Absolutely.
Okay, we leave that to the court of public opinion for tonight. Prof, we
leave that to the independent investigative institutions, because the public don't investigate.
They don't investigate, but they form their opinion as to whether that's preferential.
But in the war against corruption, we don't want public opinion. What we want is actions and hair strong. So we expect the DPP, we expect the Auditor General and the Controller of Budget and Ethics to do their job.
Fair enough. Prof, the conclusion of the matter, a possible impeachment bid and largely corruption taking center stage. What's the bottom line for you?
You know, the bottom line is, let's discuss the issues that are being raised about the president. And so let's not go into the technicalities of procedure. Then secondly, I would like to, when the president says, and it looks like what the president is speaking is what his majority leader in parliament is speaking, the question that, the issue that independent organs are working. How can you talk about independent organs working when you, in fact, in parliament, you have crippled the EACC, there are no commissioners? You know, you are a comedian. You really, nobody can take you seriously, Honorable Duale. There are certainly...
Unless I'm a comedian, you are a pedestrian.
Yes, but let it be like that. Yes, but let me tell you something.
I really need to pick my panel a little better. It's made of only Honorable Mbadi
and pedestrians and comedians.
Yes, but let me conclude this point. The problem that we have is that...
It's a bit bitter.
No, I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter.
I will apologize. No, I won't call you a pedestrian again.
No, I think you are probably you are not a comedian, so it's over. It's over.
It's over.
Yes,
okay.
but let me tell you this. I'm just concluding my remarks. I'm saying that, in all fairness, there are two things that are happening from the administration of our country's administration. One, there is interference with the independent commissions, as you have seen with the JSC. And even the police commission, I mean, that's
why I'm telling you. Pedestrian techniques are being made. How does JSC come in here?
Let me say, the National Police Service, I just want to give two examples.
Please,
yes, the National Police Service now,
he's just fishing.
Executive has taken over some of the services of the National Police Service.
How?
So what you call independent commissions are not working. And anybody who takes the powers of independent commission is impeachable. So what I'm talking about in terms of the president is this, the issues that I know as a citizen of this country that the president has not got right, and we have discussed on this panel so many things. There are enough grounds to impeach President Uhuru Kenyatta. Enough grounds.
And you know what, Prof? I think I beg your pardon because because we're out of time. The takeaway from this is what is the legitimacy of those issues. And so, as you've rightly said, let's wait and see what Honorable Mbadi
and you will not capture
will come out with, and then we'll pick up this conversation on another edition of Opinion Court. I've got to go. We're going to be back with more news after this.